Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Lauren and Matt and Doug. Mel, where you go?
Am I just adding value? Okay.
Yes, you are. I need an oxygen tank here at times, I tell you.
Lauren, thank you so much for your vulnerability and for really, really sharing that. I had said in my little intro there that I lost my partner and I was 23 at the time and he was 23, so I really resonate just alone with that age demographic of where you're at and what you're going through. And now 8 years on, that like you're going to just grow and blossom and continue that journey, continue to share, especially like you've got an abundance of stories now adding into your toolbox. The friend that left you and the friend that said you were ugly, like what a blessing that friend called herself out on it and evicted herself out of your beautiful life.
Well said.
It's an absolute blessing, when I hear that, and it's like you didn't even have to do anything. She exposed herself. And people like that, you let them walk away.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, they're missing out on what could have been a good relationship with you.
Yeah. People like that can't, exactly kind of what Doug and what Matt was saying. It's that people hurt people. And that you can't eradicate the bullies from this life because not everyone achieves the self-awareness and the personal development that the people in this call have achieved. When you go through pain, when you go through something as traumatic as each and every one of our stories, we have two choices. But going back to, again, what Matt was saying, you do have a choice. You have a choice to get up and show up and to turn that pain into purpose, or you continue to have a chip on your shoulder and be bitter about life, which I've done both. And I'll tell you what, the option to be kind and to show compassion and to show empathy far outweighs me hating on the world and thinking, why me? And that victim mentality of, why did I have to go and find him dead in our house? Why did I have to now walk around with that trauma? Why do I have to never be able to look at a garage in the same way without getting some sort of post-traumatic stress? As innocent as just going for a walk, every garage resembles something for me for that significant moment. But we have a choice. And I think this conversation about hope, it's so important to remind ourselves that it is a choice. It's a choice to get up every day and to remain hopeful. There was a beautiful conversation that I had that you can go days without food. You can go a week without water. No, days without water, a week without food, but you can't actually go a minute without hope. Like when we lose faith, when we lose hope, when we lose purpose, that is where that extremity of suicide comes about. We're the only mammals, the only living species that has a frontal lobe powerful enough to end our own lives. Every other animal's instinct is a fight and flight and survive mode. But with humans, the way we've been able to stay on top of this, chain is because we've got this incredible frontal lobe that allows us to innovate, create, advance society forward, but it's also incredibly detrimental where we can choose to take our own lives and feel incredibly hopeless and feel like a burden and feel unloved. It's some pretty important food for thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Oh, Carlos, over to you.
Well, what can I say? A lot of what was said there was pretty impacting. I like it because I've been thinking this a lot myself, but where I live, I'm more on the coast, sort of out of Geelong, where I'm at. I'm sort of away from the more intense crowd of the people who are having more issues or more problems. Of course, there's issues everywhere, but where I am, I'm sort of more distant. So the conversations are a lot less intense. I find that because they're quieter people in this area, they tend to have the time to try and absorb what you're saying. So the more I talk, the more they're going to be willing to talk about it, and the more comfortable they are about it. So I find that with a lot of things, the more you talk about it, the more it spreads, the more open it is to a conversation. With me, I've had a lot of conversations and situations. Say, I could explain one where a lot of people don't realise the ripple effects of suicide in someone that affect you so much later on. My daughter everyone knows as kids in Australia, you have a little buddy from a younger age when the kids were at primary school. My daughter had a very young girl who was a very good buddy, looked after her. They become best of friends even after school and so on. They turned up to parties of each other. And about a year after my daughter passed away, I went to visit Melbourne to see some old friends, and I happened to run into her mother. And she walked up to me with big smiles. "Hi, haven't seen you for a long time. How's Inika?" Obviously not knowing anything about what happened. The tough choice for me was I had to take off and not say anything, pretend I didn't see her, break her heart by telling her the truth as well as her daughter, which is pretty hard thought, or to pretend everything's fine and just lie to her. And little things like that is what I see happen later on that a lot of people don't realize happens. That a lot of people stay home and become very recluse because of those situations. You don't see them coming. I wasn't ready for it at all. Where you just get thrown into a position where you have to deal with all your emotions, which you thought you had in control, all the things you thought you've practiced and ready, and they're just thrown out the door. And on the spot, you have to decide what you're going to do. Trying to keep it together is very hard. Everyone knows when you start talking about something enough, the tears come back, the emotions come back, which I think are important. If they're not there anymore, that's a bad thing. The fact that the emotions are there is what keeps you going and keeps the balance in your life, and the memories, of course. But there's so much more people don't see the ripple effect going around much further down the line. And, of course, someone passes away, you think a couple of years and it's all good. But a lot of people avoid it, and it's something I've been looking into. And as Lauren was saying to a lot of her friends, I see her output on Facebook really important for people because she's collecting her own circle. The people who are commenting bad or not liking it are disappearing. The ones who aren't comfortable are disappearing, but the people who are supporting her are the people she needs around her. And that's creating her own little community of support and also the right-minded people around her. So I think that's important to a lot of people too. With me and my daughter, I talk a lot about my daughter. We have, I'm not sure if you've seen most of the crowd that turn up when my daughter has a situation happening. We celebrate her birthday. We celebrate the passing of her death. We celebrate her funeral. And we have people drive 200 to 300 kilometres away, people flying from interstate to come and see it. We let off balloons on a cliff. We've done so many things every year because we don't let it go. We don't suffer. We don't cry. We enjoy the moment she was with us. We enjoy all the memories. We make it a party, and we celebrate for her as well to make sure that she's not forgotten. And it's something we find it's confronting, but we've brought a lot of people into it who are now comfortable with talking about suicide. So I think it's really spreading. And that's what we need to do, make it more comfortable to talk about, make it more easier to confront and bring up without that awkwardness that tends to send people away. I think that's where people aren't concentrating on the smaller part of just a normal conversation should be brought up all the time, not to depress people, not to make them feel uncomfortable, but to enlighten them and what our thoughts are and how we can talk comfortably about them and be happy.